Beyerdynamic is part of a group that I like to call the Big Four, which is Beyerdynamic, Sennheiser, AKG, and Audeze. Why are they the Big Four? Because if you're an audiophile, then I guarantee that you've heard of these companies or own some of their products. And today I'm here to talk about probably one of the most loved or hated products Beyerdynamic makes, the DT990 Pro. The Beyerdynamic DT990 Pro is an over-ear, open-back, dynamic headphone that's designed for studio work, primarily. Which makes sense due to their absolutely stellar build quality and comfort, and as well as the 250 ohm impedance. Prices kind of fluctuate with these. It all depends on where and when you look. They're anywhere between like $130 and $200. And I mostly see them for around $159, but I got them on sale for like $135, so they're not that expensive, but they're not that cheap. As I said, these are very well built, because these are handmade in Germany. The cups, and as well as a couple smaller pieces, are plastic, but it's really, really nice plastic. It's like a good OtterBox case. The yokes are metal, the slides are metal, the headband is metal. It's metal. This does render the 990s to be a little heavy, but it's nothing too serious. The weight adds to the superior feel of quality or whatever. This is a bold statement, but I genuinely believe that these could be indestructible. And I have data to back that up. This was supposed to be a funny clip of me kicking those across the room, but I'm not doing that, because I don't want to break the drivers. I'm sure the housing will survive, but I don't know if it'll damage the drivers. So there's still... The cable is attached, but modding them to have a removable cable is pretty easy, and there's a zillion videos online that'll tell you how to do it. On the topic of the cable, I just bumped the microphone. On the topic of the cable, love it or hate it, it's one of these coiled up house phone looking cables. Personally, I like it. Not having to deal with 9 feet of straight cable is really nice. And the coiled cable gives me this weird sense of nostalgia, and I won't go into why. Just it does. And just like the rest of the build, it's a nice cable. It feels nice in the hand, it's durable, it's a little heavy, but I don't find that to be much of a problem because it's laying on my desk instead of, dangling off the side and, pulling the things off my head. Bottom line, excellent build quality. On to comfort. These are very comfortable. Beyerdynamic really does know how to make some comfy headphones. The pads are the Beyerdynamic standard big, gray, round velour ear pads. They aren't memory foam, which means they will eventually go flat and you'll have to replace them. I recommend replacing the pads every 6 months, if not every year, with constant use. Although the pads on my DT770s lasted me about 9 months with hardcore daily use. And I don't use these too often, so these pads will stay good for quite a while. They are a little shallow, but it doesn't matter because your ear is just sitting in padded luxury. Kind of overstated it there, but you get the point. The headband padding is not super thick and it's kind of firm, but that's okay because this foam will definitely stay good for many, many years. Even though the padding is not that thick and it's pretty firm, it's still really comfortable because it distributes the weight across your head equally. It contacts more surface area around your head instead of just sitting in one spot. So that's good. I should also mention the clamp force because that is definitely a key trait to a good Beyer. They squeeze pretty good. You can remedy that by bending the headband like you would on a set of Grados to get a looser clamp. And that should actually extend the life of the ear pads too, because they won't be squished against your head as much. Now onto the thing that nobody likes about these cans, and that is sound. Some say that these are unbearably sharp and fatiguing, DMS, and some say that these are absolutely wonderful. Here's my take. These are analytical studio headphones. They're supposed to be sharp and unforgiving. It's their job to reveal every detail and report any problem within a mix. And these do that very well. These have revealed details in music that I had no idea were there. It's insane. I'll listen to a song that I've known about and listened to since like before I could read, and I'd be blown away at all the details that were just appearing out of nowhere. And that's also why I can't listen to vinyl with these. It's too noisy. Alright, enough gibberish. How do these actually sound? I will admit that these are bright. Really bright. Like if you're scared of Beyerdynamic treble, then you might want to stop watching now because this is the epitome of Beyerdynamic's house sound. Look at this graph. That's a lot of top end and not a lot of upper mids, which makes it seem like there's even more treble than there actually is. Now looking at the whole frequency response graph, it is pretty hard to ignore that these are V-shaped, which is something you really don't want in a set of studio headphones. However, this gets a pass, and I'll explain why in a bit. Looking at the bass response, for a dynamic open back, the extension and volume is actually really impressive. If you compare the bass of the 990s to the Ship 9500s, you can see that the 990s clearly have a substantial amount more low end compared to the 9500s. And I consider the 9500s to be a headphone on the warmer side, even though they have a sibilance issue. Now you're probably going, so there's extra bass, a dip in the mids, and extra treble. That just sounds like every consumer grade headphone you can buy today. Why do these get a pass? Well, these are the most uncolored V-shaped headphones I've ever heard. I know that's an oxymoron because how can something be uncolored and V-shaped? And the answer is, I don't know. I really don't know. The only real explanation I have is that these things make everything sound proper, the way it's meant to be. It doesn't really help, but that's all I got. All right, imaging and soundstage. The imaging is excellent. I really don't have another set of cans with this kind of accuracy. The soundstage is good, but it's not the best. It should be enough to satisfy the average audio geek. As always, before I wrap things up, I gotta go over power requirements. And I think you're gonna be pretty surprised with my conclusion here. These are 250 ohms and have a sensitivity of around 96 decibels per milliwatt. So it's a high impedance and a low sensitivity. So you're gonna need an amp, right? Actually, no. Well, not really. I highly recommend an amplifier, but these sound perfectly fine running off my laptop. However, without an external amplifier, you're gonna be using a lot of volume. The bass extension won't be as extended, and they're gonna be a lot bitier than normal. All right, to finish things up, these are somewhat affordable, very comfortable, they have an excellent build quality, and a debatable sound signature. Do I recommend these? Well, it really depends on what you like. Well, that's kind of how it is with everything, but never mind that. If you like that focused, analytical, studio kind of style, then yeah, I recommend these. These are pretty good for that kind of listening. But if you like the general laid back, kind of easy listening, then I would run far away from these. These are pretty intense. Alright, and that's all I have for you. Thanks for watching. There's a link in the description to go buy these. And next time we're going to be revisiting an old friend of ours. Alright, see you next week.